5. Last time's session, 2 weeks ago, saw our party bedding down for the night while they waited for their errant wizard to be restored. During the night, Scribble found himself on the rooftop, unable to follow the advice that was given them to stay indoors. A confrontation with a wraith and a subsequent attack by Shadar Kai found him heading for the hills, or more specifically back to town, as he dimension doored away. Leaving the party to fight the Shadar Kai. A rooftop yeet and ensuing combat found the party victorious, but one of the 3 did escape. They found a curious stone on one of the corpses, a black stone rune. And when morning came, they found the wizard restored. However, their friend, the cleric, the old woman who inhabited the windmill, was no longer. With Paramon's mind intact and his grievous poisoning cleansed, the party proceeded to catch up with the old wizard, comparing notes on various occurrences, learning a bit more about Nalcendris, finding out that perhaps she is not the green dragon that she masquerades as, and is perhaps more likely some sort of fey creature and charlatan. Paramon learned of the fate of his friend and faithful sidekick, Albrecht Volker, and formal introductions were made. We ended the session with everyone heading back to Phandalin for a few days of downtime. Paramon catching up with Linine and Ulrich and others he knows in the town, with the party working on finishing up a magical breastplate, and the 2 wizards, Paramon and Louis, delving into Lunalia's father's journal, into his old research from years past. And so we pick up this week, wondering what everyone's been up to, and I will hop in here and say that Blackstone rune that was recovered, I'm not sure who picked it up, but if you tell me, I'll tell you how to get it into your inventory.
It was Lucid.
I don't think so. He wasn't there.
Lucid was in town.
Yeah.
I think I looted it and gave it to Louis.
Oh, Louis.
I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I think I have it.
Okay. Well, Louis, if you go into Manage Equipment and search for the custom item Blackstone Rune, go ahead and add that. It is a tunable item that allows once a day you to cast the Plane Shift spell only for you and up to 2 others between the Material Plane and the Shadowfell only. It is ostensibly how these Shadar Kai travel back and forth between the 2 planes.
Okay, I have it. I'm not going to attune to it.
Right.
At the moment.
Yeah, no real reason to. It's kind of a piece for maybe future stuff. Also notable, it isn't enough for the entire party, so you would need a second one if everybody wanted to go on a little trip. What has everybody been up to? We talked a little bit last week about, I think Lunalia was continuing practicing her performance skill in the hopes that someday she would gain proficiency in it. I think Noro worked the forge for a while with Dahlgren, as well as working on that armor piece, which
yes,
Rogar currently wears. There was some downtime spent by Louis enchanting that piece, as well as looking over, I suppose, probably Albrecht's research notes, as well as Lunalia's father's journal, with Paramon. Anybody else been up to anything fun in, let's say, 5 days or so?
I think I said I was working at the inn during nighttime, and I was helping Danica train
Correct.
to kind of give Deebs a bit more, I guess,
give
free
yourself
time to rest.
give yourself 10 gold pieces in wage and tips for your work
That's
at the
nice.
inn. I'm just having a look at my notes here to see if there's anything else of note. No pun intended. Well, Louis, I suppose we can hop into your time spent with Paramon. The old wizard is quite knowledgeable, brilliant, in fact. I imagine Louis would probably enjoy being in his presence. You know, a very Gandalf sort. He's got many tales to tell, and he's a very charming fellow who seems to have made friends all over. Name drops a lot. A few names that you recognize, many that you don't. But he does seem to travel in more Western circles. You spend some time going over both Albric's research as well as Linalia's father's journal that she lent you. And I suppose you could start by making a... you could make either an Arcana or investigation check. I'd say Arcana check with advantage from Paramount helping. Your choice of which one of the two things you're more interested in currently.
Well, I meant to do...
Well, just tell me what your bonus is. I don't want to lose the natural 20, so just tell me what your bonus is on Arcana.
+7.
Plus 7?
27.
Okay, so a nat 20 for a 27. That's fantastic.
Nice.
Which one of the two pieces of work would you have been looking at for that?
First, I would be looking through Linalia's journal.
Okay. Well, that's enough for me to reveal pretty much the entire content of it. Let me just go find it here. There are names mentioned, 4 names specifically that recur a few times, referenced in brief notes about meetings with them and their musings on similar research. Keldrim Aloro, who you've now heard of, and Paramount would explain that he is a elven wizard from the Isle of Galanor to the west, of some renown, a fellow who has pushed the boundaries of sort of modern arcanum, and is kind of, you know, well known for researching odd and obscure methods to you know, push the bounds of what magic can do. Nostric Galir, a name you don't recognize. Paramount notes that he's heard of him but never met him face to face. He's a wizard who keeps to himself, rather old fellow. Probably Paramount speculates he's older than him, and has sort of fallen out of the public eye in recent years. A Fizwick stop bottle. The name itself is enough to tell you he's a gnome, an alchemist and inventor. Paramount definitely knows of him, hasn't met him, and he thinks that Fizwick has a home in Brindlestep, which is to the west, 20 or 30 miles or so to the... actually, you know what? I'm not going to guess at that. I'll just have a look at the map real quick. Brindlestep is to the west... 35 or 40 miles, right along the coast at the foot of the mountains. And the last name is Alistair Kane, a fellow who Paramon is very familiar with. In fact, a good friend of his who he hasn't seen in a handful of years. A fellow from Eralia, another nation across the narrow strait to the west, who is a little bit more of a traditionalist in the circles they travel in, but certainly an intelligent fellow in his own right. As you read through these research notes, you definitely can tell that they weren't written for anyone else. They aren't leading in any way. They are... You know, when you write notes for yourself, there's a certain lack of context or cohesive instructions. They're not meant to be read by someone to reproduce work. They're meant to remind you of what you already know. They're meant to invigorate memory as opposed to being a perfect copy of everything you know and have done in linear order. And so you get that feel by reading through this journal as well. The research is plainer in nature. There are mentions of a conflux or a confluence of the elemental planes. Other planes are loosely mentioned, but given the strong ties between the elemental planes and a theorization that the prime material is less of a separate plane and in a sort of reimagined planar cosmology, it's more a blending of the four elemental planes. There is talk of constructing a space, a demiplane that sits in between and a part of all of the planes that is a conflux. That was the first step. The future would be building a place, a nexus of sorts that sits between all of the planes and allows travel freely between all of them. You find, as you page through the journal over the course of a couple of days, sketches. A strange, partially finished, or perhaps broken ring gate, a la Stargate, with intricate traces of elven scroll work that spirals around it in complex patterns. The author muses that it's perhaps on the western side of Galanor, although he was taken there directly by spell and wasn't entirely sure where it was. It was an object of some mystery and reverence to the elves that Kelder Maloro teleported him to and then back. But he was given some time to observe it and take some notes and make some sketches and make some observations of it. Later pages of the book, there's a dried violet flower pressed between the pages. Sketches of an elven woman resembling an older Lunalia, here and there in places where he wanders off topic. At one point, there's mention of an associate's cryptic warning about the Crimson Order. And at that, rolling for Paramon, he nods and taps his chin. Crimson Order, those red-robed wizards that you spoke of, that our friends spoke of. Perhaps her father and his associates delved too far in a direction they were not meant to. I think it is of value for us to find why these Crimson Wizards are after them. Last episode, I think you rolled a 23 or something on an Arcana or History check. And indeed, just to recap, those red mages, the red-robed wizards of the Crimson Order, are sort of a, in wizard circles, they're regarded as sort of a boogeyman. There are tales about them, but nobody's really ever seen them up close. It's rumored that if you tinker with the profane, if you try to bend the spell weave to your will in ways that it was not meant to be, if you delve too far into things like, you know, ascension and you know, unnaturally prolonging mortal life, immortality, those sort of you know, widely prohibited methods of magic, they'll come for you. But even someone so well connected and intelligent as Paramon and well traveled really hasn't had any exposure to them directly, has only heard rumors. You could make an insight check while you're talking to Paramon on this topic.
C'est pas bon.
He seems to tell you all he knows about them. And maybe the most you get is that there's a long pause afterwards as he sort of stares off into the middle distance, deep in thought. And then eventually he waves his hand. Well, we should move on. Let's keep reading.
Have we encountered any of these red wizards at all?
The rest of your party has.
I think we told Louis.
we talked about it some. Yeah, talked about some last time.
Yeah, so just to recap, Lunalia has encountered them in the past, in her sort of, you know, zero session. Before this campaign started, we played, I don't know, 3 or 4 short sessions.
I think 3.
Yeah. And they showed up. She observed one of them meeting with the governor of the city she was passing through, and then later, in her search for one of these 4 names in this journal, to try and learn more about what happened to her father some years past, she encountered these red wizards again. They seemed to be after one of these individuals. She observed them. Well, I'll let her tell the rest of the story if you know, if she does. The party ran into more of them. Lunalia received a sort of almost, you know, telepathic or dream state message from a fire genasi, a dark-skinned fellow with hair of flame, pleading for help. They found him in a manor house atop a hill deep in the forest to the east. Kelder Maloro's home, or at least one of his homes, a retreat of sorts. They found bodies of these red-robed wizards burned badly. They found their way into a sanctum deep underground by way of a bidirectional portal. And there they found Ignis, this fire genasi, who was trapped in a sort of magical trap, a test or a trial of sorts left for him by his former master, Kelder Maloro. These red wizards showed up, seemingly in pursuit of him. A fight ensued with the party victorious. They freed Ignis of his bonds and observed a message left, illusory message left by Kelder Maloro, congratulating his student. And asking him to find him and join him. Ignis recanted a tale about his childhood, his sister and he, orphans on the streets of a city far to the south, on a southern continent, being rescued by this high elf wizard, taken in, you know, given food and shelter, and things seemed nice at first, but then the experiments started. The result of which was these 2 former humans were infused with elemental power and transformed into genasi, into plain-touched beings. Similar to Lunalia, but in a different way. She was born this way. They were created. That's the extent of exposure the parties had to these red wizards. They basically showed up. They were sort of 2-dimensional, you know, there they are, blast them, bad guys. And that's kind of all they've seen of them so far. But this journal certainly mentions them, and the writings in this journal are from years ago, you know, from Lunalia's youth.
see.
There are spells. Fully constructed, partially constructed spells, deconstructed spells. They are primarily, conjuration. There are some bits of evocation magic as well. I can send you a list either right now or after the session, but you have the opportunity to learn any of 6 spells. Unseen Servant, Misty Step, Thunder Step, Far Step, Summon Elemental, and Plane Shift. Obviously, Plane Shift is something you'd have to wait to learn. But those are the fully constructed spells that are in this book. The rest are fragments, sigils, partial incantations. It seems like he was in the process of deconstructing a variety of known magics and trying to put them together, recombine them in a different way.
Can you hear that list one more time real quick? Sorry.
Yeah, I'll just, I will paste it in to the D&D session channel.
You just say it
D&D
again.
session.
I caught 2 of them.
And I'll just throw it in here.
Thank you.
And so, with your crazy roll and your time spent looking through this journal, you can surmise that Linalia's father was working on constructing a demi-planar nexus between elemental planes and the material. It appears that he was most of the way there. There is something missing. If he had indeed constructed this demi-plane and had stabilized it to make it permanent, there must be some way to get to it, and that is the only thing that slightly escapes the two of you. At one point, a flustered Paramon just slams the book shut, sets it down on the table, and rubs his eyes warily. I've looked at this far too long. I think a good cup of tea and a walk are in order.
Of course. So a walk is always good.
Tell me, Louis, do you know what happened to a father?
I do not. You should ask her. I know he is not around.
She doesn't know.
Well, no, she kind of knows. She knows enough.
You could ask her.
Yeah, but Louis hasn't asked her yet, right? So Paramon just nods and says, I suppose I will have some words with her. It's time. Have you looked at our mutual friend's research?
I have not. But, another thing to dive into.
My old eyes are tired beyond tired. Why don't you have a look at it and tell me what you think? I'm aware of the beginnings of his delving into what lies beneath the manor house, but admittedly I was not around for the latter half. Curious that Lunalia's father knew Master Aloro. Did not know we had a mutual friend. I must track him down as well. I would very much like to retrieve my spellbook and more so understand why it is he refuses to answer my hails. Well, I take my leave. I wish you luck. Let me know what you find. And he promptly gets up and exits whatever room you guys have been studying in. I'm guessing a room at the inn.
I was thinking, I was thinking either in the magic shop or in Chez Lamo.
Oh yeah, yeah. I guess you could pop that up. There isn't really a magic shop per se. I mean, Lenine's shop sells all sorts of fine goods.
Yeah, that's what I meant. But somewhere that does she have some kind of like workshop or like workspace area at her shop?
Yeah, she has a space in back that she would lend the two of you. That is private enough. It's a desk covered in scrolls and papers. Your typical backroom manager's desk in a retail store type of thing.
Yeah, I would probably pop up my little hut.
Like on the edge of town?
Yeah, like in that in the green space that Lunalia
in the middle of the road.
Yeah, right in the middle of the road.
Town square, baby. This big purple freaking hut.
She doesn't do it in the middle of the road. She's off on the Edermath property somewhere. It's like between the house and the pond. That's where she hangs out.
Yeah, by the little pond. So that being said, is anyone else in the party like around or have a headquarters set up? Like, are we seeing each other every night, or just like all off doing our own thing?
I mean, the inn is kind of where everyone kind of goes to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we would probably see each other every day.
The closest thing the party has to a headquarters is, a large table at the inn that they often find themselves around, and that, when they're in town, the innkeeper sometimes shoos people away from the table, hoping that they'll show up. They made some friends early on, running the red brands out of town and whatnot, and so they're kind of favorites around the inn with the innkeeper and his family.
And the copious amounts of booze that both Deebs and Noro can drink. Yeah,
so they're they've got a almost a reserved table. It's just if the innkeeper thinks they're out of town, he'll give the table up to others. But God, it's been a while. I actually have to look up his name.
Toblin.
Man. Yeah,
yes,
Toblin Stonehill. Yep.
Toblerone.
Well, I'll go over to the inn and grab some food, have a seat, pop a squat, and see if I see anyone else from the party there.
Well, you would definitely see.
I assume at different points I would see different people, but see if anybody shows up to chat.
Yeah, Rogar's there. He's in the kitchen most of the time, afternoon and evening especially, and
what time of day is it?
Well, I mean, we're fine.
I mean, so
pick your time of day.
I figure that this is after a couple days of studying with Perlemont about the book, like an evening before I dug into the notes, the other notes, Volker's notes.
Right.
Yeah. Then at that point, Lunalia, she's there for most meals, so she would probably be there. As long as it's not crowded.
Where has Scribble been staying this whole time?
I probably would have been staying at the inn if there was a room still.
Okay. I'd say for each of you, if you've been here in town for 5 days or so, room and board's not free. We we could simplify it and just say, you know, like the typical cost of living is like $1 a day. You know, that covers food and drink and lodging and all of that. You know, I think it'd be cheaper if, like, Linalia, if, you know, she's sleeping in the grove out behind the Addermath farmstead or something. But
Yeah.
you know, if you're staying in a room and you're eating and drinking, you know, it's going to be somewhere between half $1 to $1 a day. It's not really enough to worry about with the amount of money you guys have, which is why I don't really deal with it. It's easy enough just to knock it off of the next loot you get or whatever. Who cares, right? It's pocket change, but you know, just to keep that in mind. And that's kind of why I don't bother with you know, the innkeeper coming over and charging you for your room, or coming over and charging you for drink or whatever. At this point in the story, at this level, who cares? Unless you guys care, in which case tell me and I'll start charging you. If that, you know, makes the game feel more realistic to you to have that conversation.
No, I don't care if you're just kind of remembering it when you did loot.
Okay. So evening comes and you all find yourselves either around the table or, you know, Rogar nearby, preparing a meal. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. Paramount is nowhere to be found, but over the past couple of, you know, 3-4 days, you have seen him come into the inn and, you know, beg a plate of food, or sometimes he'll show up with Lenine and she'll buy him something or whatever. He seems to not have gotten back on his feet yet, financially, but always manages to get something. Not a lot of people here this evening. Mostly local faces, a couple of maybe traveling merchants. You know, the inn is about half empty here in the evening, and feel free to talk amongst yourselves.
Lunalia, I've looked at this book some. Your father had some very interesting realms of study.
Yes, my mother and he worked on several strange things together. It was his life's work.
So, what do you know? Where did his life's work take him? What's happened? Why do you have this book?
Oh, I mean, she would have explained early on that her parents are gone. Her mother died, and her father, she assumed, was dead, but there was
Louis,
no body found.
I went back and listened to the last episode. Louis had no clue. In fact, he failed an insight check. Paramount nailed an insight check to sort of intuit that something happened. But Louis was all like, "Oh, that's cool. He knows your dad."
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, because he joined later, right? So he probably wouldn't have heard as much of her backstory.
I don't know what happened. I was very young at the time. There was a loud sound. And a lot of light. And then half of our house was gone. My mother was in bad shape, and so I ran to the closest steading towards town to get help. But by the time we got back, it was too late. She was gone. They never found my father's corpse.
Did they find the other half of the house?
It didn't disappear. It sort of just exploded. And she'll pull a rock out of her pouch. She keeps it with her all the time, and just put it on the table. It's she found it after the incident in the rubble of the house, sort of at the epicenter, I guess. And it's sort of this prismatic colored smooth stone. It doesn't do anything that she knows of. I think we had discussed in the past that it is very faintly warm. But yeah, it's just an iridescent smooth stone. And the only other stuff, you know, she pulled her father's research journal, and you know that was about all she could get out of the house. Her mother's lyre, and that was it.
That stone, I'm gonna have to go back and check out the session where you met Ignis, because he had a similar stone and he told you what it was, or at least you observed him use it to leave, to like plane shift out.
Mm-hmm.
It's some sort of dimensional anchor or something, is what he said. And I unfortunately didn't write it down, as I tend to not do when I make shit up on the spot. So I'm gonna have to go back and do some research. It's a good thing we got video footage.
So all these years, for a long time, I assumed that my father died, either, you know, incinerated himself or snapped out of existence, or something. But in recent years, after, you know, going over my father's journal, the bits that I could understand, and then meeting Mordrin Kane, whose father's name appears in my father's research. It's maybe possible that he didn't die, but went somewhere, or was taken, or if there's even a chance, I need to know.
Well, I think there are some things of note in here. It seems as though he was researching some sort of interplanetary nexus of some sort. I do not know. But creating a new space, a new plane, demi-plane. C'est très interessante. It's very intriguing, and I'm sure that there are many people who might be very interested in this. I do not know much more than that, but maybe following this idea could help us figure out what happened to him. I do not know.
All that I know of my father's research was that my mother, who was an elemental specialist, she was a druid. They worked together on a lot of things. He was researching interplanar magics with the help of her affinity for the elements and the elemental planes. I was too young to really know more than that, and all I've learned since has come from his research notes.
Did he ever speak of creating someplace?
Not to me. Like I said, I was very young.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, she was like seven, or maybe 8 when it happened.
Well, this is something for us to think about, and maybe study further. But I do have these notes from my friend from Monsieur Volker, and I was going to maybe dig into those, but I do not know you know, the people that we know that have dug into these things, maybe they are not okay. Oui? Maybe there is the potential for a problem. Oui?
I agree.
So maybe I will go study these some, but maybe if you do not hear from me, you come check, come to chez la Mer, by the pond, and you know, just make sure that I am
You
not
haven't
going
been
mad.
taken over by a brain-eating monster or a demon of the pits?
You know, Monsieur Volker, you know, he was my teacher. Like I knew him very well. He's not a bad man, you know. He's a very good man, and I miss him dearly. But I think that if something here could have done that to him, then it could do it to me as well.
Well, and I think we're a little worried that it might have whatever it is has gotten a grip on Lenine now as well.
Oui, you have mentioned this before. I do not know. Maybe once I learn a little more, we could potentially diagnose or solve the issue.
Agreed. I think it needs to be at the top of our list or near to it anyway.
Well, there are a lot of notes. It will take me a few days, but I will try to make sure that at least for dinner I will come join. But you know, if you do not see me, then please come say hello.
Of course.
Have you learned any new songs?
No, I'm having difficulty just mastering the handful that I know. Darren has been helping, but I fear for his ears.
I'm sure you're too modest.
I'll get there one day.
Your conversation is interrupted by a sudden, distant shake of the ground. Like heavy footfalls, the ground shudders, windows rattle. A few people look at each other nervously. Um, ripples in your ale appear as heavy footfalls thud in the distance, coming closer, and then stop. And there is a huge whoomp, and the ground shakes one last time as something hits the ground hard. A commotion outside. You hear militia guard running, the clink of armor, weapons being drawn, shouts, and there seems to be some sort of commotion just around the corner down the street towards the entrance to town.
Yeah, well, Lunalia will go off running.
Never a dull moment, eh?
Seems not. Nora, wake up!
I imagine Nora's probably fighting off a point of exhaustion with all the hard work he's been doing at the smithy.
Clink, clink, chink, chink. Yes. Sleeping hard.
I would move towards it.
As you guys, for simplicity's sake, I'm guessing Rogar is gonna join. A few of the folk step out of the inn, like nobody's really bothering you for anything right now. Anyway, people sort of pour out into the street to see what's going on. As all of you come out in the waning sunlight of this early summer evening, you see a massive silhouette off in the distance, about 60 feet or so, a humanoid shape with something large strapped to its back. And as your eyes sort of focus on it, you can see it's a massive crossbow. But this thing is huge. It's got to be 9-10 feet tall. And as you move closer, you see it's a massive ogre. It has some sort of strange helmet on of cobbled together various bits of metal and wire. There is a honest-to-God ballista strapped to its back. And this mountain of a creature is sitting on the ground, its legs sort of, sticking out in front of it, feet sticking out in front of it, and it's just sitting there sort of scratching its head and looking around. As it is, you can see several guards with swords, spears, shields have, formed a loose circle around it as best they can, and there are several others at this ogre's feet shouting. You hear one voice sort of cut through the din of the guards shouting and whatnot. All right, just calm down. He's not your foe. And as you all sort of step closer to see what's going on, the crowd sort of parts and moves a bit in ways where you can see a tuft of bright orange hair pokes up, above a few shoulders, as you see a well-muscled dwarf with a tall orange mohawk, bare-armed and chested, covered in blue tattoos, a beard bearing multiple braids that end in bronze bangles, is sort of, he's got his hands up and he's trying to push people back away from this ogre, pushing the guards away from the ogre. We've got him. He's a friend. He's a friend. Just put your weapons down. You're agitating him. The ogre kind of looks around. Friend. He kind of looks down. Food? Want food, friend. You hear another set of shouts above the din. A higher pitched voice speaking to the ogre, calming him down, trying to keep him from getting too worked up. Ulrich strides up from down the street. What's the meaning of this? Back off. Let the man speak. The dwarf walks up to Ulrich, and the two have some quiet words. He looks back your way and actually spots the lot of you and just nods, holds a hand up, and sort of to motion you to, back off, we got this. And the two of them speak. Meanwhile, the ogre is still looking around, scratching his head. Food. Hungry. When we eat. They look tasty. No! They're not for eating. I told you. These are our friends. You'll get to eat later. Look, why don't you just run off? Go play in the woods, Tiny. Go over there. Run, go. Okay. And he gets up. Play in the woods. Find some food. He goes running off, just barreling out of town. He elbows he elbows the Miners' Exchange, one of the support beams that holds up the awning over the porch, the Miners' Exchange, and the awning sort of half collapses as he runs past it, his heavy footfalls shaking the building. You see him disappear sort of over the horizon. You see tree tops shake as he disappears into the forest's edge. Another minute or so goes by of chatter between Ulrich and these strange figures, and he takes a few steps back and motions the guards. Come on! They seem to be of no trouble. You, make sure your large friend there is well watched. And he turns and with a flourish of his cloak, heads back down the street towards the barracks. leaving you to observe 3 figures walking towards the inn. This rather stout, muscled, mohawked dwarf, a halfling wearing a pair of goggles and a strange collection of it's not really armor, it's more like he has a bunch of strange bits of metal and tubing and glass vials and bottles strapped to his shoulders, arms, and chest, in a very strange collection of just bits and gubbins of technology. And behind them, a tall figure, long hair, a grizzled chin, and he wears what is basically a duster, a long, sort of dirty, dark coat. And as the 3 of them pass, you see his coat sort of blows open in the wind a bit, and you see on one leg 4 wands strapped to his leg in a sort of holster of sorts, as the 3 of them head towards the inn. You all kind of watch this strange group pass you. Come on, let's go get a drink. We've got dragons to kill. As they their boot falls clump up the porch, and they head into the inn. Yeah, 3 amigos. There you go. What are y'all doing?
They came from the south?
Yeah.
I guess we'll follow them back into the inn.
Yeah, the road that comes up from the south, it sort of curves around the hill to the west, and yeah, basically it's the main way into town. That's how anytime you come to town from, the direction of Dralamar, that's sort of how you come into town. You would leave town the same way even if you were going to like Umbridge Hill or whatever. You just turn south.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then.
Well, you all head back into the inn, and you find that your drinks and whatever you had on the table have been unceremoniously pushed to one side of the table, and these 3 have sat down at your table. The dwarf has his muddy boots up on the edge of the table. The halfling is tinkering with he's set like 3 vials on the table, and he's got several tools that he's unrolled a leather kit. He's got several tools, and you can see within his kit there are several unfinished wands in there as well. The human, still wearing his trench coat, is sitting sort of back to the wall, eyeing the room. And the dwarf starts shouting, "Ale! Ale for my friends and I!"
Lunali is going to walk over to the table and resume her meal that has been so rudely pushed aside.
Yeah, it looks like somebody just took an arm and just, pushed everything over to one side of the table, away from them.
Feet off the table, please. It's very rude.
What?
Feet off the table. It's very rude.
Oh, I'm sorry, princess. It's been a long walk. I'd like to rest my dogs.
She's going to touch the table right in front of her. And on the other side of the table, tiny little pokey spikes have erupted from the wood.
What? He gets his boot caught on one of the spikes and with a bad dice roll, topples over backwards on the floor, feet up in the air, swearing in Dwarvish profusely. A bit of a chuckle out of the human before the stern look crosses back over his face. The dwarf gets up. Oh, you're a feisty one. I like you.
He gets picked up actually by Louis. We just like right the whole chair and pat him on the shoulder and Oh, this is okay. It happens to the best of us, my friend.
That's fantastic. The dwarf picked up off the ground by your diminutive form as you sort of drop him on his feet. What in blue blazes are you?
Lunelli's just gonna keep muttering "rude" beneath her breath.
Is that the way that you address somebody that you meet for the first time? What are you? My name is Louis. What are you?
Falky Flame Scald. What I am is a dragon killer. Me and my friends are here to hunt a dragon. Have you seen one?
Oui. Yes, we have.
2, actually.
Oh, 2 now. Boys, we picked the right place. I'd only heard of a bounty on 1, 2. Now you're talking. So, can either of you set us up with a drink? Drinks! Ale! For my friends and I! Come on!
Are his feet remaining off the table?
They are. They are. He's actually standing up. He hasn't sat down yet. In fact, he hasn't even bothered to right his chair unless you do.
Rogar will go over to the bar and get drinks for 3 of them. But he'll make sure to use his tankard of sobriety for the dwarf.
Amazing. So Rogar comes over with 3 tankards of ale for the 3 of them. The human just quietly flips you a gold coin. Make a dexterity check.
I'm not quick.
No, you're not. And his dex check was not amazing either. He flicks the coin at you, and it's not entirely clear which one of you, whether it was tossed poorly or caught poorly, but it sails past your grasp and hits the floor with a dink, ding, and then rolls out of sight. He just shakes his head, reaches for the beer, takes a long swig of it, sets it down, nods at you. Don't mind him. Doesn't talk much. Thank you. You work here, or are you just a kind local?
A bit of both. Work here when I'm in town.
Hey. So tell me, he kind of looks you up and down. We're looking for something like you, but with wings and bigger. Seen anything like that? Or 2 of them, perhaps?
Yeah, I've seen both of them.
Up close or far away?
Both of them up close.
Oh, lads! This one's seen him up close. The halfling is completely oblivious. He is he's taken out a small file and is filing a spiral groove into one of the wands, the unfinished wands that is in this small sort of leather roll kit. He just kind of looks up briefly through his thick goggles and then back down. Falky the dwarf reaches up and kind of slaps you on the forearm, which is about as high as he can reach. So, sit, have a drink with us if you're not too busy, getting drinks for people. Why don't you and he looks around, your friends, join us for a drink or 2 and tell us what you know about these dragons. Might be some coin in it for you. Yeah, when we get paid, of course.
Sure. And Rogar will just sit next to him, I guess.
What are all the rest of you doing?
Lunelli is just sitting at the table finishing her food.
Noro, Scribble, Louis.
I would just be looking around the the room. Like Scribble's been like looking for signs of Tally and or Magic the last couple days.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and I said I'd have something for you next week, and I will. But no signs of either of them yet.
Oh, right. Rogar told Scribble that Halia was looking for him.
Did he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
back when we were at the windmill. I don't remember if Scribble went and talked to her or not.
Oh, right.
No,
right.
I didn't. I was kind of waiting to see what was like would happen. Like if Magic showed up, would be dependent on like what like the conversation would probably go.
He has not yet.
What is Noro doing?
Yeah, what is Noro doing?
He just woke up. and he realizes that no one's there.
Just woke up where? Like at the table? Like, was he slumped over in his chair taking a nap, or?
Yes, because he was still tired.
All right, so they're sort of off to the side of the table. Noro suddenly springs awake and looks around. Noro, you see this thickly muscled, mohawked, orange mohawked dwarf covered in tattoos. This halfling artificer tinkerer with thick goggles, carving a wand, and for better lack of words, this sort of dusty human gunslinger sort, quiet gunslinger type, sitting next to them, just watching the room, eyes narrowed. Ale's on the table in front of all three of them. They're at your table, and your drink and everybody else's drinks and food have been sort of pushed off to one side, actually in a pile in front of you.
So what? So he's like confused as to what's going on.
The dwarf sees you spring awake, and he's like, "Is he with you?"
Yes.
And I'm like,
Boys, they've got an idiot too.
son of a bitch! I'm gonna rage.
You know, you don't know us, sir, and we don't know you, and I don't appreciate you talking about my friends that way.
Right, but he is, right? I mean, poor lad can barely speak. He just kind of looks at Noro.
Noro normally speaks with his fist. Would you like to have a conversation with him?
Oh, does he? And he just looks up at you.
So without saying anything, Noah just starts standing up, and then he goes, I guess, finds a seat right next to him. Like, is anybody sitting next to?
I'm sitting right next to the dwarf.
Okay, and who's on the other side of the door?
It would be like it'd be like hands on a clock. Rogar would be at like 4 o'clock. The dwarf would be at 5 o'clock. The halfling artificer would be at 6 o'clock. The gunslinger guy would be at 7 o'clock. You'd be at like 8 or 9 o'clock. With a pile of stuff in front of you, the contents of the table sort of pushed to the side in front of you, and the top half of the clock would be, Lunalia and whoever else.
Okay, so I will go in between the dwarf and the artificer.
Oh, like just get up and walk over and push in.
Yeah, walk over, and the way he pushed our stuff off the table, I push those two guys further out of the way so I can sit down next to the dwarf.
Like you bring the chair over and just kind of muscle in between them and sit down.
Right, the way they pushed our stuff off the table, I pushed them to the side.
Make a strength check.
All right, Noro, this isn't the time. Ugh, maybe.
That's a save, but it's fine. Your regular strength check would have beat his 10 anyway.
And I kind of like calmly do it. I'm not being aggressive. It's just kind of like, let me shove you out of the way. Now I'm going to sit right here, and I'm going to look at the dwarf. And because he doesn't know that I've worked with dwarves before, I changed my language to Dwarvish and just ask him, why are you sitting at our table?
His bushy eyebrows shoot up when you speak Dwarvish to him. Oh, lad's cultured. He switches to Dwarvish. Well, Morden's blessings be upon you, brother. Didn't know you spoke the mother tongue. Tell me, where'd you pick that up? Your accent's odd.
And because I don't know him still, and I don't really know how he's going to come off, I'm just going to be like, I went to school. But I'm not going to say like where or anything like that. Just like I'm going to be short with him, just kind of like, still wondering why you're sitting at our table level of short.
Huh. School. I think I misjudged you. Apologies. He kind of scoots back to give you a little bit more room in almost a respectful way. The other two have since sort of gotten up and moved further around the table. The human's now sitting sort of behind the pile of stuff, tankards and whatnot that was in front of you.
All right, so knowing that, then I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna say in Dwarvish, I said, now, if you'll let me, I'm gonna go take a piss in Dwarvish. And I just get up and start going.
He looks around the table, looks at Rogar. Well, not often I put my foot in my mouth. Lad speaks better Dwarvish than I've heard in a while. So, he turns around to Louis. Are you still sort of standing behind him, or have you gone over and plunked down on a chair?
Or? No, I'm sitting at the table, just observing.
So he looks around the table at all of you. So, do tell about these dragons then. We are hunters by profession and fair good at it. Killed a few of our own. He pulls up a necklace of dragon fangs that are smaller than you would have imagined. None of them longer than about 3 inches. What have you seen?
You take trophies. You
Alas.
take these as trophies?
Why wouldn't I? Every piece of a dragon's useful, valuable. What we don't sell, we keep.
Disgusting. Well, you're welcome to have it, the ones that we've seen. I don't know where they are.
Useless.
You said there was a bounty
He
out
turns
for one of them.
to Rogar. Aye, bounty.
Which one, if you don't mind me asking? I might be able to give you more details.
The only one we've heard of, the White. Heard it's been harassing folk this way for a few weeks. Attacked the town some time back. Figured we'd come down here and cleave it in twain. Take its head back to the lodge, hang it on the wall, sell the guts. Maybe make a nice coat.
Who offered the bounty?
Why, your town? We, well, after a few drinks and a night's rest to, catch up on a bit of sleep. Sleeping in the woods, not my way. We, intended to see the townmaster in the morning. To let them know we're on the case.
Do we know anything about this bounty?
You do not.
Yeah, Ulrich told us about the dragon attacking, but never anything about a bounty.
Yeah, so this is one of these
Give me
things where,
insight check.
like, you guys didn't didn't say, "Hey, we'll take care of it and go hunt it down." So he put a bounty up, and folks are coming.
Okay, so there is a legitimate bounty, though. Like,
I mean,
it is known.
this dwarf says there is. You haven't heard anything about it.
Yep, sounds legit to me.
You could insight check him if you want. He seems to be, he seems to be pretty straight up.
How much is the bounty?
Why? Are you interested?
So, judging by the size of the teeth on his necklace,
Mhm.
like, what would they be in comparison to like how big the dragons looked whenever we saw it?
Well, I mean, the green, nothing compares to that. The green was massive, towering above you. Its teeth half the size of your forearm. The teeth around his neck are half to 3/4 the size of what the white bore. Now they might be small teeth. Not every tooth on a dragon is the same size, but they're small compared to the smallest dragon you've seen. They're smaller than that.
Linelia is going to use her long arms and reach across the table towards his necklace to lift one of the teeth. They look like milk teeth to me, and just drop it back against his chest.
Make a oh boy, what kind of check is that? Why don't you make an intimidation check with advantage?
Make a sass check.
Yeah, it's a type of intimidation. It's not really I mean, it is intentional. You're not trying to intimidate, but
She's trying to put him in his. My intimidation is garbage.
That's fine. Push a button. Let's see what you get. Nice.
Oh.
Oh,
There's no advantage.
Oh yeah, that's
With
roll-
advantage.
With advantage, yeah. Push that button
Oh,
again.
okay.
Yeah, 18.
Nice.
Not bad.
He kind of looks down as you let the tooth drop and looks back up at you and then looks to Rogar again. Wait, how big is this beastie?
Well, he, when we came across it, it plucked a full-sized human out of the air. Easily.
The dwarf's face changes when he hears that.
He was slightly portly, wasn't he?
The dwarf?
He was like, no, the
guy
when
he
we were
picked up.
when we were
guy who
dragon
did,
fishing.
was that
Yeah, dragon
Fidair
fishing.
and it was Samnus that he plucked out of the air, or that he
Yeah, he
that
was a bigger guy.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
fairly big dude, like like your typical 180, 200 pound.
Is he there in the inn right now?
No, I don't. I think they left already.
Fidair and Samnus would have left with that other guy.
So yeah, Roger would like try and describe him as best as he could, like how big, and like how tall and how big he is.
Yeah,
Can I
leaving
just
out
put an
the-
illusion up of that scene?
Leaving out the fact that he was levitating.
Oh, so Scribble, do you cast an illusion of it like right on the middle of the table?
Yeah.
Nice.
A wave of the hand from the Kenku, and this very accurate, almost video image, 3D video image of the scene springs to life of the dragon swooping down and grabbing this guy out of midair. The three of them, the halfling knocks half of his shit off the table. One of the vials breaks open, and a strange green gas sort of dissipates out of it.
Con save death.
What's that?
Con save from everyone versus death.
No. The human backs up. There's a look of surprise on his face, and he quickly reins it in and goes Mr. Serious Face again. The dwarf is the only one who doesn't move. He just sits there, and his eyes get wider. There's almost a look of fear, and then it changes into something else as he kind of channels his fear into excitement. Oh, it's a big one. Oh, boys. We're gonna earn our keep this time.
You're gonna get eaten is what you're gonna get.
Aye, and I'll carve my way out.
Like I said, feel free to help yourself.
Aye.
I'm so sorry. I did not realize. I thought you were looking to kill babies like you have before, but that there are no baby dragons here. I'm sorry.
His eyes kind of narrow as he looks at you. We kill all sizes, lad. This one shouldn't be a problem. Besides, we've got Tiny out there. He'll take anything out of the sky. Speaking of which, and he turns to the halfling. Jurgen, you should probably go look after him. We don't want to get in trouble our first night in town. The halfling just kind of absentmindedly looks around, looks at him, eyes magnified through the goggles he's wearing. Oh, here we go. And he collects his stuff up in one arm and turns and hustles out.
Do you happen to have a map with you?
Aye, of course. And he reaches in his pack and pulls out a rather crumpled, tattered map, slaps it on the table. It's a little old. It's stained. It's fairly accurate for the region. It covers a little bit larger region than what the map that you guys have kind of been using since, Deebs and the other two brought it from Dralamar. But it's definitely a little bit older and has seen better days.
Looking at the map, would I be able to tell roughly where the Rock Seekers camp is?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Rogar would point, not at the Rock Seekers camp, but I guess, I'm looking at the map of, the big map, and I don't see Rock Seekers camp, so I don't really know where to point.
Sorry, the big map, and I can just move you guys to the region map here. The Rock Seeker camp is right there.
Okay, so Rolgar would just point to the opposite side of that little nook, kind of where Axholm is, right about here.
Okay, so right about there is actually, it's funny you say that because that is the mountain pass you guys traveled through to get to Coneyberry from the Rockseeker camp, where you narrowly evaded a confrontation with, I think it was a troll.
Yes. We spotted him about here on our way to Coneyberry.
Right. Good to know. Okay.
There is another dragon that we mentioned over in Thundertree. And Rogar would point over to the ruins.
Thundertree. Aye, the old ruined town there in the thicket. Right. You say a dragon lives there as well.
Yeah, she's a green dragon?
She's an ancient green. I would suggest you steer clear.
There's no ancient green dragon in those woods. Come on.
Show him, Scribble.
He's not gonna knock more shit over, is he?
No, the The dwarf is the only one who didn't sort of jump out of his seat. It's the halfling who knocked a bunch of shit over and he's left the table.
First, what is the bounty for the white dragon that you're after?
He looks at all of you. Well, you don't seem like the sort who'd compete with us. 1,000 platinum.
Offered by this town?
Yeah. Any less and we wouldn't have come.
Maybe we need to have a chat with the current town master.
No, wait just a minute. You're not after our bounty too, are you?
No, I'm just wondering how a town in this poor a shape can afford such a high bounty.
He just
We've
shrugs.
been here for some time.
Well, obviously you've missed a few things then. But that's not for me to say. Let's get some more ale. You, Shiny, can you bring us another beer?
Sure. I'll take their... Yeah, I guess I'll take their mugs and go fill them back up.
I like that one.
Making sure that he's drinking out of the sobriety one.
It's fucking awesome. Alright. Does anybody want to do anything else? Is there any further conversation you want to have with these chuckle fucks?
How late in the evening is it?
It's pushing towards sundown. I'd say the sun's gone down. The skies are hues of purple fading to blue. Night is upon you.
Lunalia, now that she's done eating and before she gets indigestion, is going to leave and look for that guy, the guy.
Darren, Ulrich,
No, not
Paramon.
Darren, Ulrich.
Okay.
Yeah, she's gonna see if she can find him.
You have a wander around, and not too far away is Townmaster's Hall, and you actually you hear his voice from within. It sounds like he and Hallie are having a conversation. The front door is wide open, and you could feel free to approach if you wanted.
If she hears them talking, she'll walk up quietly to the door, but stand just outside of it.
Okay. Stealth check or no? Your call.
She'll sort of roll her eyes to herself and say Scribble would probably want a stealth check. So she'll make a stealth check.
Okay.
Potato, please.
She's not great at those either. No.
Yes!
Wow. Clump, clump, clump.
Clip clop.
Yeah, like a stealth check that low is like you making a sound and then shushing yourself and then being like, oh, shit.
Which she would hear herself make noise. She would just sort of heavy sigh and walk in.
Ulrich turns as you walk in. Oh, hello.
Did you put a bounty out for the Great White Dragon?
Yes. What of it?
For 1,000 platinum.
And?
I was under the impression the town couldn't afford that.
Well, you've been gone for a while, and I didn't want to trouble you and your friends. Certainly can't rely on you to do everything around here. We've come into some money. I've managed to secure some funding from Dralamar.
Well, unfortunately, the 3 that have wandered up to take on your bounty, to me, seem woefully ill-prepared.
He just kind of he stares at you for a long couple of seconds. That's why we pay them when the job is done.
Fair enough. It's your money, I suppose.
Look, if they're
Aye.
hunting dragons, they I have to trust they know what they're doing, and if they don't,
They won't be an issue.
I hate to say it, but that is on them.
I just came to make sure that the offer was legitimate. And not another offer that's been put out with the rumor.
He, ooh, I don't know if you guys have, I don't know if anybody talked to him about that or not.
No, I'm sure we did.
In that case, he just nods. Good of you to check. I appreciate it. Hallie is just kind of watching the two of you talk and sitting there quietly behind the desk. Was there anything else? Did he just kind of points at you and sort of back towards the end? Did you and your friends have some interest in the bounty? I would find a way to slow the others down and give you a head start if it helped.
Well, I can't speak for the others, but you should have come and asked us.
It was a while ago. You were off on some adventure somewhere. It came up in communications between us and Dralamar, and it was part of a deal we made. Mention of the dragon soured things a bit. They offered to post a bounty to have it taken care of. So you see that the money's not actually coming from us, it's from them, and it's to protect their interests in this region. And now that they have interests in this region,
I will take this back to the others. I'm sure some will be very interested. How disappointing for the dwarf that's wandered into town.
He nods and smiles. He says, speaking of which, well, as part owners of the mine, I'm certain that once operations are up and running, there will be interest. I don't know if you're the sort who would be interested in it's probably for Gundren. I'll tell you this: if we receive any communiques, I might find you or your friends and have you help deliver it to Gundren. If that is your arrangement, I'm not entirely sure. I'm guessing.
I think that would probably be for the best, rather than take it to Gundren yourself.
I have no real interest in. I have no time. I would like to see him again, but we've been busy. Quite busy. In fact, a small regiment of troops will be here in another week or so to bolster our defenses, and construction of a wall is starting within a month. We hope to have it done before the winter. I dare say that Phandalin is improving, finally.
That would depend on your definition of improvement.
Well, I suppose we can agree to disagree. I suppose I should apologize in advance for the felling of some trees, then.
The felling of the trees that is a necessity. It's the walled civilization that I don't like. But I understand the need for safety.
Appreciate that. If you see Paramon, would you please send him my way? I have, well, I didn't get enough of an opportunity to catch up with my old friend, and I would like to chat with him further.
I haven't seen him recently, but if I do, I'll send him your way. I should get back to the others and let them know the news.
Very well.
She'll just nod at Halia.
She flashes you a very fake smile.
Yeah, she just dead-eye stares Halia. And heads out. She'll go back to the inn.
Alrighty. Meanwhile, at the inn, the dwarf is most of the way through his second ale and pounding on the table, hollering for another one. Rogar, are you going to kind of make it your own personal mission to keep anyone
Yes.
else away from serving their table for the evening?
I would explicitly tell Toblin and his wife that I will take care of that table for them.
You bring another round over. Actually, you go to take their mugs off the table, and you find that the human hasn't touched much of his second drink. He just holds a hand up. Thanks, I'm good for the night.
Rogar will just nod and take the dwarves.
Yeah, so Nolunali will come back and sit back at the table in her spot. Good news, all. Ulrich has offered us a bounty if we can capture the dragon.
What? Hey! No! But... that's not a bounty. What are you playing at? You weren't interested a few minutes ago.
My interest lies in keeping your life on this side of the veil.
I think she's trying to insult us, boys. And he turns and looks towards the empty chair where the halfling was a few minutes ago. Looks at the human. The human just dead eyes him. And he looks back at you. Right, so it's a race then. I don't suppose your friends will be giving us any more information. Good thing we got what we needed from the big one already.
Lunali is like in her head. The big one.
Yeah, which one's the big one?
Which...
Their big one is bigger than both of you.
Do we actually have any information that like we would be able to give them?
I don't think we do.
You have the most recent sighting, plus like you've seen it flying over the mountain's toe. So when you went through the pass here on your way there, you saw it flying sort of over here. It's obviously been in Phandalin at least once. You've seen it around Umbridge Hill once or twice. You've seen it at the Rockseeker expedition, and
yeah, Rogar told them how big it was and roughly where we saw it, which is away from where we actually saw it.
And
well, it's east.
The orcs were driven out of Icespire Hold by this dragon. Like, it basically killed a bunch of them, ran the rest out, and took over their hold as its home, as its lair. So you actually have a pretty good idea of...
so we do know where its lair is then.
Yeah, you know where its lair is. That's where Lotruck and Kern and all of them are from. And that's why they came down the mountains into the valley, and then ran into the Zagnath and his orcs, and were sort of roughly taken
appropriated.
In by them. Yeah.
So at this point, Noro comes from the bathroom.
A lot longer than 20 seconds.
And he just says, like, that was the longest piss I ever took. What are we up to tonight? Because clearly he missed all what was just discussed.
Yeah, she would fill him in on, the validity of the bounty that Ulrich has put up for the dragon. And Ulrich has said that if we were interested, we are more than welcome to hunt it.
And hearing this, Noro, like, gets wide-eyed and, like, and I'm kind of, like, looking at the rest of the crew, like, are we gonna actually try to... I mean, didn't you see the guy, like, get taken out of the sky? And are we doing this?
It would help keep the town safe.
It would help keep these three alive.
And if we were to get some of its parts, I hear that it can make great weapons and armor.
I am in need of an upgrade.
And Nora, as soon as you said weapon, he's like,
But
When do we-
I wouldn't take this on unless we're all on board.
All right. Then Nora's just kind of looking for everybody else's approval of this.
You think we should hunt the dragon?
I think we need to check in with Paramon first and see where we're at with regards to Albrich's research and the crypt. But if that's going to take some time, perhaps we could take this on in the interim.
Scribble's thinking back about, like, what was it, a week ago, 2 weeks at the most, that we last saw this thing, and everyone was completely terrified and wanted nothing to do with it.
Right. That's why Nora was wide-eyed and trying to, like, are we doing this?
Yeah, but you guys have now killed the big bad, and you got another level under your belts, and that dragon's looking a little smaller, and...
Lunalia's fear is that more and more people are going to come and try and hunt this dragon that are stupid, like this group that's just showed up, and it's just more people going to get killed. That is her motivation for... That is her only motivation for doing it.
Nora's more like
on their motorcycle.
Yeah, sorry, open window.
Nora's more like, well, let the idiots try.
I do not see this as a problem. If they decide to die, what does it matter to me? But I do not know if we want to go kill a dragon. I mean, the last time we saw it, I told it to go away, and it went. So I do not know what we want.
You guys-
That is true.
Are you guys speaking openly in front of these outsiders?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, the
If you-
dwarf is
if you all
listening
think-
with intent.
If you all think that is something that we can put off and maybe soften the dragon up with a couple of groups of wayward adventurers, then that's fine. I was just thinking to prevent more loss of life.
And Nora jumps in and is like, I like this plan better. Let them find them first. We come in behind them.
Unfortunately, Rogar has already given them clear directions to where they are. Or where we last saw it.
And just so we're clear, Rogar, you intentionally misled them.
Yes.
Okay. Can you just make a deception check with advantage, because they don't know you, and like, you know, pointing to one place on a map versus another is a pretty easy bluff. Yeah. No, not
Nice.
That's
Lunalia,
not-
Rogar.
I don't
Oh.
know why my rolls are not showing up.
Just.
I mean, I
tell
rolled
me-
an 18 plus 2 in
There you go. Yeah,
D&D.
you can also just tell us what you got if it's not working for you.
So you got a dirty 20.
Yeah, I got a dirty 20 and then a 14.
You're pretty
I'll
sure
have to
that
figure out why my rolls aren't working.
you're pretty sure that he believed you. You know how, whether or not he still does now that there's, although you've come across as pretty uninterested in chasing after this dragon, at least early on. So you're pretty sure he believed your bluff. The dwarf grins broadly. Right. Yeah. Well, we'll go soften him up for you. We'll soften him into pieces. You can maybe come sniff around what's left, see if you want to buy a liver or a heart or some scales. I'll even give you a good deal in exchange for the information you gave. He points at Rogar and says, if we take that dragon down, there's 500 gold in it for you.
That's appreciated.
For what you told us. If it pans out.
I guess we'll find out if they're real dragon hunters then.
He kind of looks in the bottom of his mug and raises
Need
one
another pop-up?
eyebrow, and then it drops, and the other eyebrow goes up, and it drops, and he kind of closes one eye and then opens it, closes the other eye and opens it, looks around the room. Ale's weak in this town. Go for a few more, would you, lad? He pulls some coin out of his pocket and stacks it up on the table.
This is exactly why I'm doing this. Because it's milking him of money.
Evening turns
So,
into
yeah,
night, and night gets later as you continue to ply the dwarf with alcohol that has no effect.
Yeah, Rogar's just continuously putting the coins that he's putting on the table, like
The
on
ha-
the bar for Toblin.
The halfling comes back a couple of times, but spends most of his time away, ostensibly looking after the ogre, making sure it doesn't make a mess. And unless there's anything anyone wants to do, we will skip to the next day.
I would like leave or take off during the night and then go see if I could find Hallie at the exchange,
All right.
or not the town hall. Thing.
You check the town hall, and she's actually not there. But you do see a light on in a back room at the exchange. Along with a very badly broken awning over the porch. Like it's hanging so low you almost have to duck to get under it, where the support beam's knocked out from under it, and it's sort of fallen halfway down.
Alright, I'll try to go into the exchange.
You find the door unlocked. You go to open it, and it's a little janky in its in the door jamb, but you manage to get in. Somebody's gonna have to fix that. The door's still unlocked, but it's quiet and dark in here. You see a crack of light from under the door to the back.
Alright, I'll knock on the door, see who answers.
Come in.
Okay, I'll just go in and shut the door behind me.
The room's not well lit. There is a single lantern on the table. And you can see that she's seems to be reading a letter. Oh, hello. I haven't seen you around much. Good of you to visit. Do you have any word on that business we spoke of?
Maybe.
Maybe. Unfortunately, the man to whom I'm indebted does not deal in maybes. I need something concrete. I need to know the job is done. And soon. He expects action. I hate him so. I don't even trust that he'll do what he says. It's just an endless string of favors. that he
What
calls
past
due.
favors have you had to do for him?
Nothing so distasteful as what he's asked this time. Nothing worth mentioning. In return, I have all this. I have him to thank for everything here. I mean, of course, I've built much of my success with my own two hands, but the scourge of my father's misdeeds hanging over my head would have doomed me to a simple merchant's life in Dralamar. Shopkeeper. No chance to rise above any of that. He got me out of there. He gave me this opportunity far away from the city as it is. I've managed to rather become an important person here, especially with events of late. Ulrich's trust and his need for someone to handle administrative affairs. I basically run this town. It's rather nice. I rather like it, and I would rather like to continue with what is mostly, and she kind of, her eyes dart to one side, mostly honest work. There is a pained look on her face, like she's been asked to do things that she really doesn't want to, and you know, the bits of, you know, life of crime that she dips into here and there are more, you know, at somebody's request, than, or not really request, but she's been, you know, commanded to do things, to repay debts.
Does it seem like those are more, like, more than just from, like, this last task, or?
Yeah, there's a, I mean, you can make a perception, or sorry, insight check, but she's being pretty open with you without just outright, yeah. She's being open without just saying shit, but there is a lot of weight on her shoulders from, she has a lot of past regrets. Seems like this isn't the first time that Silas has asked her to do something nefarious, to, you know, to pay her debt.
That's kind of what I was getting at. Is like, does it seem like they were mainly coming from Silas?
Yes.
So, assuming that Ham and Sandwich, Ham and Sam, has an issue making it back to Dralamar, how do you stop Silas from requesting more and more worse things from you?
I don't know. The more influence I gain, the more power I have, the worse his requests will be. He likes to toy with me. He likes to ask me to do the impossible. Hammond was just the latest. But to ask me to dispatch him here in my own town, there was no way. I can only hope that whatever you've done pans out before he reaches Dralamar, or I don't know what he'll do.
Seems there were many people very upset that he may have sent out notices about a stake in the mine that didn't exist.
I heard that. Was that you?
Many people in the inn talk about many things.
Her eyes narrow and she smiles. You never cease to surprise me. Your friend that you brought me, the one of many faces, he hasn't been around much. Do you know where he might have gone?
I don't.
He would have made things very easy. I could have had him replace one of Hammond's guards and go along with him on his way out of town. I sense that one has no qualms about doing just about anything. Probably would have enjoyed it.
How ambitious is he?
Who? The doppelganger?
Yes.
I asked myself the same question shortly after I met him. I've watched him. He is terrifyingly subservient. No, he attached onto me rather quickly, did anything I asked, seemed to enjoy most of what I asked him to do, even simple things, impersonate me so I could take a nap, deliver messages under the guise of others. Strange fellow. Seems to enjoy his work too much, but he's after something and I can't put a finger on it. I know he was tied up with the Black Spider. I don't suppose he's gone back to him again.
If he did, he's running around with someone without a head.
Her eyebrows raise. Oh. Really? Recently?
I forget, like, however long it's been, I'll just tell her that.
A couple weeks. Couple, 2-3 weeks.
Within the month.
Well, that is good to know. You've brought me so much. Is there something I can do for you?
You've been taking care of a town that I felt safe in. It means much to me.
Well, then we have something in common. I don't treasure much, but I treasure this place. What it's given me. I'm glad to know you feel the same. There might be a time that comes where we have to do things we don't like to protect what we hold dear. I hope I can count on you.
As do I, depending on the task.
Yeah, and with that insight check, that is a very there's something there. You're not sure if she knows what she's talking about, but you get the feeling that there is either a plan or a concern. Either a plan to do something or a concern about something that might happen.
Fun.
Well, if there's nothing else, I do have some letters to write.
I do have one other question.
Yes?
Are there any other bounties that have been sent out as the one for the dragon?
Yes. There is a price on Madric's head. $1,000 gold.
Is that it?
Well, he's not been that much of a problem lately, but it seems that with Dralamar backing Phandalin, they are keen to do away with any potential problems that might threaten their investment.
And who is paying for that bounty?
Dralamar, of course.
Well, if you see him back in town in the next couple days, drunk, without a weapon, you can assume that him and Sam did not collect the bounty, or maybe he did.
I see. Yes, with what I know about the man, it's not going to be an easy one to collect. Unless it's done right away. Ah, Jesus, I just realized I gave you guys a free 1,000 gold if you can figure out how to kill him and collect and... Oh well.
Over and over.
I'll just get a coconut and paint it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if Ulrich is the one paying out the bounty, obviously, you know, if it's Ulrich or Halia, they're going to be like, yeah, nice try. We know he's coming back tomorrow. Try again. But, don't know. You're not sure what's going to happen with this detachment of soldiers they're sending out. You know, who might be running things, or, you know, maybe it's not going to be Ulrich all the time, right? Maybe you're going to have a bunch of dumb stormtroopers and you know, some guy in a gray cap running the show.
Fucking hope it's stormtroopers. I'm gonna get that laser pistol.
Oh no, I've given Scribble a laser pistol. What does the world come to? She says, the bills have not been posted yet, but they will go up in a day or two. Beware. I know you've had some dealings with him, and, well, just either collect it yourself or don't be seen associating with him.
If you could delay that for a couple days to give him time to visit a friend on the way to Dralamar, it may make things better for both of us.
She nods and smiles. Understood. I will see what I can do. I know Ulrich's busy. Perhaps it'll slip his mind. I'll let it slip mine for a while as well.
This shady goddamn bird.
Fuck yeah.
What do you mean, shady bird?
You shady.
All right. Well, it's late. See yourself out and mind the porch. It's in a state of disrepair. I'll have somebody look at it tomorrow.
It's good speaking with you.
Likewise.
Alright, then I'll just go ahead and leave and then head back to the inn, but looking around, just still looking for anyone that might be following or anything.
Yeah, make a perception check as you head back to the inn. Are you going back to your room, or?
I'll go back to the inn if no one's in the lobby still. Then I'll just go back to my room.
The dwarf is there. The halfling is not. The human is there. He has he's gotten up and moved to a table in the back. And does finally have another drink in front of him. The place is mostly cleared out. The dwarf is still sitting at your big table. Rogar, have you been keeping him drinking this whole time?
Yes.
I mean, he's ordered a plate of food and you know, later on a second plate of, you know, whatever's left in the kitchen, you know, stale bread crusts and you know, leftover scrapings out of the bottom of the stew pot. And he's had at this point probably 10, 12 ales. And other than, you know, stepping outside to relieve himself a couple of times, he's you know, tiring out, but certainly stone cold sober. I think that's how the mug works, right? Like, he just won't get drunk if he keeps drinking out of it.
Yeah, it just refuses to let you get drunk.
Yeah. So,
Does it not affect like exhaustion or anything?
This tankard has a stern face sculpted into one side. You can drink ale, wine, or any other non-magical alcoholic beverage poured into it without becoming inebriated. This tankard has no effect on magical liquids or harmful substances such as poison.
yep. So
That's
it
nice.
just it's
Takes the alcohol out.
It's, you know, because he joined the campaign late, I gave him a certain amount of gold and said, buy magic items to catch up with the party. And he bought some really interesting stuff that's not very useful, but goddamn, this is hilarious. The dwarf Falky is, like 12 beers in and just... He looks tired, from travel, like wary from the road, but he's still stone cold sober. And chatty to the point where his buddy got up and went and sat at another table. Told him quietly to go fuck himself and went and sat at another table in the back. And so now he's sitting at a table in the back where Kurt and his buddy used to sit and eye the room, and he is indeed watching the room. Where are the rest of you? Lunalia, you'd come back. Noro, you were still here. Have you guys all gone off to sleep at this point? Let's say it's midnight or so. Have you called it a night, or?
If the other guy had moved to a table by himself, she would move over there before leaving and sit down at his table just to ask him a couple of questions.
Oh, well, that's handy because he was going to follow you out and talk to you otherwise. He gets kind of a surprised look on his face as you walk over, and I'm guessing in your typical way, just nonchalantly sit down and start talking, like it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Tell me, how long have you known the dwarf?
About a year.
And how many dragons have you actually killed with him?
5.
Were they juvenile?
Ma'am, I don't know dragons. But if I had to guess, yeah. Small ones.
The one that you intend to hunt is not small.
I can tell by the size of the reward. That's a right bit better than we've seen so far.
I'm worried that this reward that's been posted is going to attract, no offense, idiot adventurers looking to prove themselves.
You see a bit of a smile crack, and he casts a glance back at the dwarf. Yeah, well, we got those in spades. Don't you worry about us, we'll be fine. Worst thing that happens is we'll run away.
And that large ogre that you have with you.
Yeah, he's
How is that a thing?
He's an acquired taste. I suppose I would be entirely heartbroken if something were to happen to him.
So he's your meat shield. What have you promised him to get him to come with you?
He gets to kill big stuff and eat it.
Fair enough, I suppose.
And whatever else we feed him along the way. He gets to walk into a town now and then and not get killed. I don't think he's quite right in the head, but the little one puts something on his head that calms him down.
I see.
Yeah, you're not seeing the real Tiny there. He's you're seeing about 20% of the real Tiny. Like you're seeing, yeah, that's him at his smartest, but not at his maddest.
Oh, I've seen Mad. We have a much smaller version of Tiny of our own.
Well, the Goliath? He don't scare me
Indeed.
one bit.
Well, then you're dumber than you look.
Because you're not near a ledge.
Might be so. Might be so. Didn't catch your name.
It's Lunalia. And
Hmm.
yours?
Didn't give one.
She's going to push her chair from the table and stand up. She'll just give him a nod. Good hunting, then.
As you say that and turn to leave, he says, "Wait. Sit down for a minute."
I don't think I will. No, she will.
You need to know something. A little ways back, we were in Dralamar. I seen people like you. Not exactly, but close enough. Wet skin, strange eyes. Yeah, well, one night when the others were out at the edge of the city, I went off on a little wander. See what's going on. Find a drink in the wrong part of town. And stumbled across something I wish I hadn't seen. Watch your back. Some weird looking fellers in red robes jumped a couple of folk like you, took them away. More than I could have taken on my own. I doubt the others would have backed me up if they were there, but fair warning, watch your back.
She'll just nod at him soberly. And she'll head out to her, back to the pond.
Okay. Scribble, your perception check. So you would have seen the same thing in the bar around that time. You know, the dwarf still at the table, the human in the far back. Couple others. You know, it's probably the time of night late enough where Dahlgren's come in for a couple of drinks. You know, sitting over by the hearth. Rogar, I imagine, probably can't help but hide a little bit of a grin as he keeps bringing the same mug of ale out to the dwarf repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll save that perception check for anywhere else you go in the inn as well.
All right, yeah, if that's the case, then I'll just go ahead and head up to my room, go to bed.
In the darkened hallway, as you go up to the second floor, with your perception check, you catch a glint of light off of something wet on the floor. You kneel down to look real quick. It is blood. There is a trail of blood that leads down the hall from the open window at the end of the hall to your door. It's not much. It's a, you know, a few spatters here and there.
So, like, something, is it leading, like, to my room or from my room? Can I tell?
It looks like to your... It's kind of hard to tell. If you had to guess, something either left your room bleeding and went out the window, or something came in the window bleeding and went into your room.
All right, I'll go up to my door to see if I can hear anything in there.
Okay. Are you stealthing or moving quietly, or
Yeah.
make a stealth check? Okay. You get to the door as quietly as you can and listen. You think you hear ragged breathing from within. Maybe from far across the room. It's not a very large room, but
Does my door look like it's been like messed with?
there is a bloody print on the doorknob itself.
Can I tell like what it would have been from, like a person or
You know what? You can make an investigation check. It's from a hand.
It's an elephant.
Oh my god, this is where the dragon went.
Oh shit. But my door still looks like it's actually shut.
It's shut, yeah. It looks like would you have locked it on your way out, or like is there anything of value you would have left in here, or
No, I wouldn't have.
Yeah, then it looks like somebody just let themselves in. And if you had locked it, they would have probably picked the lock. But yeah, no, if you didn't leave the door locked, yeah, they would have just let themselves in with a bloodied hand.
I'm gonna cast Mage Armor and then open my door.
All right. As the arcane shield springs to life around you, glimmering faintly and then disappearing into invisibility, you open the door. As you do, you see a glint of steel from the other side of the room in the darkness, as a blade flashes out and is held. But it doesn't move.
So it's just like being pointed at me?
Like somebody drew a dagger, but they haven't moved and they're just watching. As your silhouette becomes apparent standing in the doorway, you see the blade slowly drop out of sight. Close the door.
Can I tell who it is?
Yeah, it's who you were looking for.
Okay, I'll close the door.
Yeah, it's Talisa. There is more blood on the floor in here. And you can see that she is leaned up against the wall, far side of the room, with her back to the wall, sort of the one window in the room to her left. So she's sort of out of sight from anybody who might look in. If they were up on the second floor, sort of rooftop looking in. And as you get closer, you can see she's been through a fight. Several deep wounds, a burn on her arm, and she's doing her best to bandage herself up. She looks up at you and smiles weakly. Disagreement with some friends of mine. Over you, actually.
Are these the ones with the chains?
You've met.
Briefly.
Well, I'm glad you're still here. Did you kill them all?
I escaped and went back, and apparently one of them with the chains had been killed, and another one that I hadn't seen.
Always in threes. If there weren't 3 bodies, one of them went back. There will be more. I took his head to them, you know. I'm sorry for that. I should have told you, but I didn't want to reveal myself to your friends just yet. I asked it questions in front of them. It answered some of them. I think it did not know what it was exactly, or why it was. But I know he was what they should have been after, not you. That is what I believe. I feel that is what she intended. But as is often their way, they've misinterpreted what she's shown them. I'm no longer Shadesworn. I'm like you. I have no home. I drift now. I think they'll come for me as well.
Shadesworn. Is that something that I would know what it meant?
You could make a religion check. I don't think you know it, but I mean, a natural 20 is a fun thing to see sometimes. Nah. No, you've not heard of Shadesworn.
What is Shadesworn?
Shadesworn are those of our kind who follow the Raven Queen. Not directly, of course. She doesn't speak to anyone directly. We have seekers, oracles of sort, that interpret visions and portents, and try and scry her will from those. And they saw you. You carry her mark, a cloak of shadow. Some of us do as well, at least at home. But it does not follow us here. It is wrong for you to have it. It is perverse for you to have her power. That is why they come after you. Does that make sense? The head of the one I took did not know why it was the way it was. Do you? Has she spoken to you? Did she grant you this boon willingly?
No, not that I know of. Like she's talking about like my shadow like origin, right?
Yeah.
No, I was born with what seems to be this talent and am still learning about it as time goes on.
When? And where?
And so trying to figure out like magic I would have known like growing up, and that would have been like what my family like kind of kicked me out for, but like the shadow stuff is all new, like kind of after we left Dralamar.
Okay, cool. That's good to know. So that's not that sort of manifested as you went off on this journey.
Yeah, so like whenever I started, I had like ice spells, and I didn't have anything like shadowy or anything. but then like I switched over to like the chill touch and as I leveled up the other shadow stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Okay, cool. That's from a narrative perspective, that's a heck of a lot easier for me. You explain that to her, if you explain that to her. She nods and sort of takes it all in. As you journeyed closer to the drow, her power grew within you, and I can sense it within you still. In fact, more so, as if what he had went to you when he passed. Does that make sense?
I've been told that at times shadows have seemed to absorb into me. Trying to describe like what people were saying, like the tentacles or whatever, like that attached with him.
That is interesting indeed. There are those of the Shadesworn who believe, those who receive her boons, receive them as a blessing. Others argue it is taken from her against her will, that they are abominations that tap the force that she needs to keep our world what it is, to hold it together, to maintain her station. It is unfortunate there's no certainty to it. I envy those who commune directly, for we do not. Regardless, you and I have a journey ahead of us. If we are to survive, we must understand this blessing that you have. Find a way to make them see that it is not opposite our ways. I've observed what you've done. I've watched you for longer than you've known, and I've not seen any indication that you are dark of soul. They are wrong, and I intend to prove it. But I will need your help.
What can I do?
For now, live. Light the darkest of shadows, for that is where they hide. Do not sleep. Always be watching. She smiles to herself and says, that is strange advice, for that is very much how she is, always watching. I think the Shadesworn will continue to come for you. You will need to be vigilant. Surround yourself with your friends. Do not stray from them. Find strength in them. I think there is someone who can help us. I will try to find them and come back to you.
Is there any way to detect them before they magically appear in front of me?
Perhaps. She reaches into a pouch at her belt and pulls out a small, glistening, dark stone, and holds it up. I suppose I don't need this anymore. I don't intend on going back. Not without you, anyway. She tosses it to you. It's a smooth stone, not much bigger than a pebble, with a complex rune carved into it. It is actually exactly what the others found on one of the Shadesworn's corpses. It is a blackstone rune.
That like lets you teleport.
Mm-hmm. And she tells you,
Oh, okay.
do not use it. If you focus on this and make it your own and activate it, it will take you to the Shadowfell. I don't think you're ready for that. And they would see you. For certain, were you to appear on their plane, they would see you from anywhere. But there is a chance that this stone would react in proximity to others. I've seen it before. It may give you some warning when they're about to appear.
Thank you. One other question about this gift that she has apparently given me.
She just
It
nods.
seems to attract the dead, and they always seem to want me dead as well.
An unfortunate side effect. It is perhaps why others who have received this boon have turned to the dark arts. I would caution you against it. If we are to prove that I am right and that you are no threat to her, to our ways, to our people, you must resist dark ways. You've done well so far, but I know there is temptation always. Dark magics are always an easier route to power, to success. Avoid the dead. Dispatch them if you can.
Okay, I'm gonna then reach into my pouch and pull out a sending stone that I have, one of the pair.
Yeah, what's the, who's got the other one?
I have both of them,
Oh, right, okay.
and just give her the one, and
Give
ask her to take it in case I need to contact her.
Giving her your digits. She takes it and nods and thanks. Tucks it away safely. She kind of looks around the room and straightens up against the wall a little bit. Takes a deep, ragged breath, and she says, "I don't sleep. You should." And she looks over at the wardrobe. Rest this night. I will make sure you're safe.
Thank you. And I'm gonna go clean up the hallway real fast with, or as fast as I can with the prestidigitation.
Ah, okay.
So there's no trail of blood coming to my room.
You spend a few minutes doing the best you can to chase up whatever drops of blood there are in the hallway. Remembering to get the large smear off the doorknob as well. And yeah, you have an opportunity to rest easy without without worrying about getting jumped by a bunch of up to no good elf dudes. Is everybody okay to take a quick 5-minute break?
Yep.
Yep.
Sure.
Cool. Back in 5.
KK.
back. We left off with Scribble finding the grave cleric of the Raven Queen, having left her order after a violent disagreement. She now stands watch over him as he gets a night's rest. I'm assuming the rest of you have hauled off to bed as well. If there's nothing you'd like to do this night, we can skip to the next day.
Yep, I'm sleeping.
Everybody else good with it?
Yep.
Yep.
I guess I should probably narrate the end of the bar scene, which is the flustered and completely sober, tired and now super grumpy mohawked dwarf leaves a stack of coins on the table, grumbling to himself. Turns to you, Rogar, at the end of the night and smiles broadly and waves, thinking it's not your fault. But heads up, stomps up the stairs to his room. A few minutes later, the trench-coated wand slinger just quietly gets up and leaves out the front door. Two parts unknown.
Covering my goddamn tankard.
yeah, you get your tankard back. Probably give it a good rinse out.
Yeah.
Rinse the dwarf spit out of it. Yeah, and so morning finds you all. I'll just throw you back over onto the town map. Morning comes, and a bit of bustle in the town, as seemingly word has gotten out of a dragon hunt. The colorful individuals arriving in town yesterday has sparked quite the stir, and they and possibly competition or the word of others coming, or the prospect of others coming to town has caused quite the stir. People are chattering about it in the town square, as you all find yourselves awake and gathering to start your day. Lunalia, are you just sleeping in the woods out behind Edermath's place, or are you staying somewhere?
Last night, actually, she would have, after hearing that news, like that's the last thing that she heard, she would have actually knocked on Darren's door, and she would have waited about 5 seconds and then let herself in. She just wants to sleep inside tonight with somebody else there.
Yeah, you would have found the door unlocked, but as soon as you opened it, you would have heard a blade being drawn. Darren sitting in the front room of his home, in a comfortable looking chair piled with pillows and stuff, a near empty bottle on the floor next to him. Draws a blade until he realizes who it is, puts it away. And would a 22 insight get him some idea of your mood? Maybe being nervous and looking for a safe place?
Yeah, because
right.
She doesn't want to say anything. She just wants to sleep inside where somebody else is.
He just stands up and he looks around and says, "It's as safe a place as any. Do you want me to watch while you sleep? Not... That came out wrong. Do you want me to stand watch while you sleep?"
She's just going to shake her head, and she's just going to pull herself into her cloak and attempt to trance.
Okay. He just nods, puts his blade away, comes back a minute later with a blanket, and just sort of drapes it over your shoulders. Goes back to his chair, puts his feet up, and you can see him. He looks like he leans back, relaxes, puts his feet up, but his eyes are open just slightly, and he's looking around. Eventually, you find rest. And at some point, you become less aware of him being awake, but you get the feeling that he's still up. And just keeping an eye on the place. But at some point in the night, you hear snoring, and it's rather loud. Morning comes without incident, and you, I suppose, would all find yourselves together again. Linelia Paramon, you find him at Darren's doorstep in the morning. Darren's still asleep. And as you open the door to let yourself out, oh, hello.
Yeah, she'll just hold her finger to her lips and usher him out the door, closing it behind her. Why are you here so early?
Pastor Edermath and I go back a ways. Good friend. Just checking up on him. I intended to speak with you as well. I apologize. I think I might have sent Monsieur Lamour your direction with some awkward questions into your past.
They weren't awkward, they were just unexpected.
Well, I wouldn't put you through answering them again. Perhaps just ask him to fill me in on anything relevant. I don't feel like I know you well enough to pry like that. I just thought there might be something relevant to our studies of your father's journal. He, seemed brilliant. Not just from our meeting, but from what I've learned from his writings. Muddled as they are and non-linear. Quite genius work he was up to. Tell me, there is a missing piece to this puzzle, and it is a key. An object, an item, perhaps an incantation, a spell that would allow us access to what he was building. Would you know of such a thing?
I don't know, DM. Would I know of such a thing?
Yeah, make an intelligence check.
Oh, well, she's dumb.
Make an Arcana check.
That's okay.
Let's add insult to injury.
Actually, my intelligence is okay. Is that what I'm making, or am I making Arcana?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, that's a saving throw, not a check. Never mind.
Arcana would, if anything, Arcana would give you a higher, potentially higher bonus, but that's not bad.
Make a charisma check to get the point across.
Yeah, that'll never happen.
You start thinking about, a key, an incantation, something, and you really don't think of anything off the top of your head. But perhaps the stone you have. It's kind of the only other thing you've got of relevance.
Yeah, and she would tell Paramon that. She would tell him, after the incident, the only items that I managed to pull out of the wreckage were my mother's lyre, my father's journal, and this stone. And she'll pull it out and show it to him. If there is a key or a passage or something of that nature, I don't know what it is.
He looks at it for a bit, waves his hand over it. There's a faint trace of arcane energy that sort of weaves between his waggling fingers as he sort of weaves a trail through the air around this object that you hold out. And the faint traces of arcane energy sort of drift down onto the object and swirl around it before they dissipate. He looks off into the distance, and then his eyes focus back on you. Uncertain, but it is something. It is not... I can't say. This may be it, but how it is used, I'm not certain. There is something to this journal. Something else. Something between the lines. Well, thank you, I suppose, for sharing such personal treasure with me. I'm honored, and I intend to help in any way I can if you have interest in following in his footsteps or learning more about what he did.
Yes, anything I could learn would be very important to me.
Well, I think our friend Louis would be of use as well. He's don't ever tell him I said this to him, but he's quite brilliant.
Why would you not tell him that?
Oh, he doesn't need to hear it. Wizards are... It goes to our heads. He shouldn't... He doesn't need encouragement. He'll do fine on his own.
I'm sure he already knows.
Oh, you can tell by looking at him. He knows.
She's just gonna cock her head at him. Like, you can just tell by looking? And then she'll nod to herself like, okay, well, I'll be sure to look in the future.
Now I know what a smart guy looks like. Well, I suppose we should all have a chat, about, the manor and the crypt beneath, and what we intend to do about it. I've, had some time to think. I would like a little more time to look over our departed friend's notes. But if we truly intend to find out what is under that place, we should, I think, do so together. Come, let's go speak with our friends. And then he kind of turns and then stops and looks back at you, and then looks back at the house, and unless you had any other unfinished business.
She's just gonna look back at the house too. No. Let's go.
No, very well. At some point in the morning, you find yourselves all together, because it's just easier to narrate that way. And, Paramon joins you all, perhaps over breakfast at the inn. This morning, the Dragon Hunters 3 are not at your table. They are actually crowded around a small table, the one in back. Possibly at the unnamed fellow's choice. You can see the dwarf is sitting unceremoniously sort of in the aisle off to the side of a table for what is effectively a table for two. And their plates are crowded on the table as he sort of chatters away while the other two listen. The ogre obviously nowhere in sight. However, a large sack is on the floor next to them of perhaps stuff for the ogre to eat. As you find your way to the table and sit down, Paramon joins you all. I hope you've all had a chance to have a few days of rest. Louis, I want to thank you for the time you've spent with me poring over the paperwork that we've looked over. I think there is some more work to do on Albrecht's notes, although I have an idea of what we might need. Tell me, friends. I am on a journey to rebuild myself. The spellbook is missing. I have only the few I have memorized. I have no coin. Working on that. It will take some time. I intend to confront Keldra Maloro to find out why he chooses to ignore my summons. As a member of the Watchers of the Weave, I would have thought he were a more respectable fellow, and I've known him for some time. Well enough to entrust something valuable, anyway.
What is the Watchers of the Weave?
Louis, you have definitely heard of this magical society. It is a somewhat enigmatic group of self-appointed Gandalf types. It's like Wizard's Neighborhood Watch, but for sort of the realm.
They are very hoity-toity. I do not like them very much, but I know of them.
Both of his bushy eyebrows go up at that. He's right. Some of them are quite stuck up. Regardless, most are good folk. They only have the best interests of this realm's citizens at heart. In any case, Keldrum owes me something, and I intend to collect. I know, looking around the table, I know that some of you perhaps have some connection to him. If you were to join me, I would appreciate it and find a way to make it worth your while. If you would offer your help. The crypt beneath Tresendar Manor indirectly took the life of a very good friend of mine. And I think perhaps threatens more than we understand. These are my two goals, although I do not know how helpful I will be with the second, unless the first is settled. But perhaps the lot of you might be more helpful than me, if we can unlock the entrance to what lies beneath the crypt, something that Albrecht could not. Perhaps there is enough in his work that we can figure it out for ourselves. What say you?
Yes, I agree. I'm willing to help.
Of course, I'm more than willing to help. But also, I mean, have we not committed to a race to kill a white dragon as well?
I think we can let them have their shot at the dragon.
I agree.
Yes.
Remember, we are part owners of a mine. They are doing our work for free.
Well, it is not for free. There is a pretty penny, as I believe you say, bounty on this dragon.
That someone else is paying.
But they could pay it to us if we killed it.
We will have a hard time spending it if we're dead.
D'accord. Okay, it's good. I will be so sorry to disappoint that abrasive man over there, but it's okay.
Well, he is pointed in the correct direction thanks to Rogar. And she's going to look around the room very obviously. And then she'll look over at Louis and wink at him.
Like a little too obviously.
No, she's obviously looking around the room, but not obviously winking.
Mm.
I mean, he really kind of did him in the right direction.
Well, he did and he didn't, yeah.
Yeah, he did kind of point him to like smack dab in the middle of this thing's hunting grounds so far, but
in the middle of its hunting grounds, but we know where its lair is, and that's not where it is.
yeah, but I mean that pass is an interesting place because there's a thing there, and I mean I don't know. I'm gonna have to run a mock combat for this, I think, or at least some dice rolls.
Rogar basically wanted to keep the location of the Rock Seekers camp hidden, so he didn't say, "Yeah, this is where we found him."
Yeah.
Or he snatched the guy.
Well, and to be fair, you've seen the thing all over, right? So
Yeah.
all over that area. So it's not exactly wrong. It's just pointing them away from the secret place. Paramount says, well, if you all wish to chase after this dragon for a while, it would leave me time to research Albrecht's findings. Virtually guarantee I'd have an answer for you when you returned.
Well, how much time do you need?
I don't know. What you have is recent work. There is perhaps more in his... He kind of rolls his eyes at the word sanctum. If it still stands. It's what he called the room he lived in down there, in that dank cesspit.
You mean his bedroom?
Yes. Mom, get out of my sanctum!
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Yes, well, wizards have our pride, if nothing else. He certainly had not much
Well, I mean,
else.
if you think it's going to take you a couple of weeks, then we could look into other things.
Days, I
But if
said
you think it's
days,
only-
but there's certainly no urgency. Whatever is down there is... He kind of looks around the room and shrugs. Trapped down there? I don't know. What do we know so far? There is something that lies beneath that is a danger to the town and seems to creep into people's minds. Has it threatened anyone else besides Lenine and Albrecht? He looks at Louis. Is it after people of intelligence? I certainly remember nothing of it touching my mind the handful of times I was there. That was some time back. Perhaps we woke something with our work
Yes,
there.
perhaps it hadn't been disturbed, until after you left.
I do not know, but we have a lot of notes that we can go through to figure it out.
Oh, Paramount, you genius. What an awesome dice roll. His eyes light up for a second, and a finger goes up in the air. Ah. No. This Medrick fellow. Tell me again a little more about him. Specifically his connection to this place. And you don't have to RP
He is
RP
very
it.
rude.
He is very rude.
Yes, yes.
Personally, I do not care for him.
I understand that, but what is his connection to this place? I believe one of you mentioned he dies and returns there.
He served the family that was there before. in some capacity. I don't remember exactly what.
I'm gonna. Would you guys have told him about Madrick in your, week of getting to know the guy? Do you think? Like, would you have caught him up? Or
Yeah, I would say probably.
Or with him asking
yeah.
now, like, would he catch you? Would you catch him up?
Would he not have remembered Magic from being held captive?
From being held captive. Yeah, no,
In the tower.
for sure. But like, he, if I remember the course of events correctly, he left. It was just him and Albrecht there.
No, I mean in the tower, like the
yeah, no. He
was
certainly
being held in
he certainly met him more recently. Yeah, but I don't think he knows his backstory and stuff. Right? He's
He
he's
doesn't
just
know who this guy is.
He was also not in his right mind when he met Madrick or when he was captured by him. Right? Most of his intellect was stuck in the mouse, and he was kind of observing everything as a third party. But the first time Madrick showed up in the crypt, the first time Albrecht met Madrick, was at some point after Paramount had left and Albrecht was there just alone, like him and the Nothic. And, he was conducting his research, and then all of a sudden this fucking naked guy just flashes into being, and he's like, "Who the fuck are you?" And I'm like, I'm a wizard. Yeah, I'm researching this place. And he's like, "Oh, fuck. I haven't been back here in some time. Give me some clothes and some ale." And eventually, like, the two got to know each other, and Madrick's like, "I'm putting a crew together. We'll leave you the fuck alone if you,
Tell me what you find or whatever.
Yeah, like, help me break this fucking curse, and we'll leave you alone. You can even stay here or whatever. I'll tell the guys to stay out of your way." And that's kind of what happened. But that all happened after Paramount left, so he wouldn't know anything about Madrick's curse or any of that. So if we just assume that you either fill him in now or you have up till now, then he would start putting two and two together. If his curse brings him back there when he dies, is there any chance he is related, linked to the seal that binds what lies beneath? Is he perhaps a key to it, or is it? Do you?
That's what we need you for, Paramount.
I need to see Albrecht's journal. I need to read it again. He said that the journal you took was the last year of his writings, but I think there is more there. I know he kept one tome per year, carefully filed, as was his way. If I can go back, perhaps he logged early conversations with Madrick. Maybe there's more information about the man there. About his frequency of appearances in the crypt.
So we can show you.
Yes. What are we waiting for? Let's go. He quickly stands up. Looks around the table.
All right, let's go.
Are the rest of you not intrigued by this? Exciting information. Discovery. At our fingertips. We just have to turn the right pages. Come, Louis!
Magic,
Let's go learn.
magic and research kind of go over my head.
Yes, let's go.
As he's storming towards the doorway, he turns and, "Well then, my good man, bring us along some breakfast." As the door slams behind him on his way out. And so, if you follow him, he makes a quick beeline for the manor.
Is that the what we want to be doing? Is that the first thing that we should do right now? Do we have we have a few things, a few different leads, if you will.
This seems as good a start as any. Hunting the dragon will take us days to gather supplies and head out.
I mean, you got 10 days of... 10 days? Let me check the map. Yeah, you get 10 provision points already. You guys are stocked up for 10 days of travel.
Well, I mean, it's up to the group. I don't care where we go. It just... The manor is right here. Like, we could knock that out. Especially if we're just looking for more of his research right now.
He is, like, you could just let him go. He's just going to get more... Like, the only reason you'd want to go is if you were concerned that he'd go and then, like, something would take over his mind, and now we just lost our archmage to the big bad evil thing.
Yeah, I'd say just go to the manor, let him get more books if there are more, and then he'll have to spend a couple of days researching them anyways.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we are likely.
I always have difficulty deciding what to do when faced with, you know, here's 3 tasks. Which one do we want to do? We have X amount of time for each of them.
Yeah, you don't, though. There's no real rush on any of this. The dragon... There's rush on the dragon, although there's a good chance those chucklefucks are just going to go get themselves killed. So if you don't really care about them, you could just let them go do that. You know, but if you want to beat them to the punch, that's the urgency. There is no real urgency to the crypts or to him getting his spellbook back. The only urgency right now is he's excited to go find some more information, and he's simply just going to go into Albrecht's room and get some papers, some tomes.
I mean, I thought we had cleared it out.
There was shelves on the walls. I'm trying to remember, and I might have to go back and watch the video. The book that you took, or the one that was, you know, available quickly, was the journal of the last year.
I think it was the one that was like out on the desk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was low rolls or you just didn't have a lot of time or didn't take a lot of time to go through all the other stuff, but the most recent journal was sort of the most pertinent.
I couldn't read it.
Well, it devolved into like gibberish towards the end, right?
Well, I think part of it was gibberish and part of it was like arcane stuff. Because you had said initially that like Adabra might be able to read it. Right.
So his research, a lot of it was over your head, right? Like it would have required somebody like Louis, you know, with proficiency in Arcana and a decently high intelligence, to make heads or tails of it. The journal was a lot of, you know, like a logbook of him just, you know, talking about, like, some of it was over your head, but some of it was very plain, like, you know, Madrick and the boys showed up bloody after a fight today. You know, glad they stayed the hell out of my way so I could keep working. You know, that weird guy Tal's been watching me from the doorway. It makes me nervous. You know, things like that. But then it devolved into, you know, madness towards the end. So he's just curious to go see what previous journal entries there might have been before that book in other tomes to get an understanding for, you know, see when Madrick showed up and see if there's any relation there. And so if you follow him, he makes his way up the hill, and you see him moving quite quickly for an old man. Maybe a couple of years of, you know, walking around the woods has kept him in good shape.
Which way is he headed?
Right up to the manor house. What's left of the manor house? The, you know, sort of.
So not the lower entrance, like
no
the secret.
No, straight up to Deeb's project.
I was just curious.
Yeah. Are you guys following him, or are you just gonna let him go?
Yes,
do it?
I'll follow him.
I was gonna go with him.
All right. Everybody, or just the couple of you, or?
I'll hang back.
Okay.
I will go with. It can be very difficult to get excited about research sometimes. So if you have a spark of inspiration, you should follow it.
Says the slacker who never amounted to anything.
But of course, my head is full of lofty ideas.
So many, you can't pick one. You follow him up to what's left of the manor, marveling at how quickly the foundation for the new temple has come along. Strangely, Deeb's nowhere in sight. Although you've heard work going on up there the last few days, and maybe even a few of you have gone up to say hi to him. Neither he nor Gariel are there this morning. You do, however, find that the entrance, the stairway that leads down from what used to possibly be maybe the pantry of the old manor house, it looks like somebody started to brick it over. There is still an opening large enough for let's say even Noro to squeeze through. But it looks like there might be an attempt to wall this off. Of course, there is still a back way in. And so you follow him down into the completely pitch black darkness, now with nobody lighting the torches that line the walls in this place. You see him conjure floating balls of light that sort of circle around him slowly, a couple of them spinning out into the distance in front of him and then slowly orbiting back one at a time, so that there's always a light source out in front of him. He makes his way with confidence to Alberic's room, throwing his hands to the sides and sort of force pushing the globes of light out and around the room, lighting it well enough to see, well enough for him to find what he's looking for, and he spends some time going through books and papers that on the shelves that line the walls here, picking out a few things, conferring with Louis as he goes. Louis, I think this might be your first time in here.
Oui, that's correct.
And I'm just going to see if I can... Oh, it's a good thing I labeled these well. Trezendar Crypts. Yeah, just so you can see it. Not that there's going to be a fight here or anything, but... So you can see it. There is the map of the crypts beneath Trezendar Manor. This is the custom map that I did to replace the one that comes with Lost Mine of Phandelver, which I just couldn't wrap my head around.
We found Deebs.
What?
Did
He's right there at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
No, he's not. So the stairs come down into a storeroom with a cistern, and then off to the left and down a hallway here is the second door on the left in that hallway is the rather Spartan room that Albrecht called his sanctum. And as you enter the space and the floating globes of light illuminate the simple bed, the nightstand with burnt candles on it, the several aging, rickety bookshelves that have been erected here, the large table with a few scraps of paper and bits of parchment spread across it messily. There is something of your old friend in this place. Maybe a quiet moment falls over Louis. And as
It
sorry, go
does
ahead.
seem familiar.
Yes, I suppose a moment of silence for our fallen friend is in order. He was a trustworthy companion and a good friend. He just bows his head and folds his hands in front of him. Yes, well, not to raid the stores of the dead, but I can't help but think he left a shred of useful information somewhere in here. And he kind of waves at the handful of tomes that are on the shelves. Some rolled up scrolls, several tomes on famous crypts and necromantic incantations, circles of warding, some books that seem applicable to research on the crypt here. And then he finds the journals. 3 additional years of journals that he takes and puts in a large sack that he brought with him. He turns and looks at the rest of you and says, well, I suppose a look at the crypt is in order. Louis, have you seen it yet?
No, sir, I have not.
It has been some time since I laid eyes on it, but I think we should have a look, just so it is fresh in our minds, and the reading that we do makes a bit more sense, having seen the context. Any objections? He looks around the room at the others.
I think as long as we're careful.
Hummer peed all over the the symbol on the floor, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I think
Okay.
he did. I think he did. In an attempt to ruin it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure Albrecht had drawn it in his own blood. Well, so he leads you with his globes of light into the crypt, which RF is the large space in the center there. And just for your reference, the sort of rough cavern in the upper left corner of the map leads out and to the south of the Tresendar Manor. There is an entrance in the woods there. If you played Lost Mine of Phandelver, it is the same. It is kind of the same idea. And there's a Nothic that used to live there that the party killed. And this was the Red Brand's base of operations. You can see in the upper right corner sort of their hangout room, and there was an armory where they'd collected some weapons and stuff, some barracks. And so you enter this the large crypt, a space that the others here are familiar with, but Louis is seeing for the first time. You enter on a raised balcony, a depression in the middle that drops down, I think 15 feet or so. 6 large sarcophagi line the space. An ancient, threadbare, tattered, moth-eaten, bug-eaten carpet runs down the middle. As the globes of light drift around the room, illuminating it, you see 4 of the coffins have carved lids. And at the head of the room lies a simple altar, an old piece of cloth draped over it, and the traces of a circle drawn in human blood surrounding it.
How many of us are here? Like, who stayed back in town? Did anybody?
Rogar did.
Noro as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I imagine Noro probably wouldn't want to come back here if he didn't have
Going to
to.
a crypt? Fuck that. I'm not going.
Yeah, I'm here.
As you walk around the space, sort of taking it all in, Paramount immediately goes up to the altar and inspects the circle, what's left of it. Reeks of piss in here.
Well, we told you.
Yes, I didn't think it would still. He turns to Louis and says, our early observations of this place were indicated that there is something more to it than what meets the eye. The absence of Ezran Tresendar's true corpse from his sarcophagus, the altar There is a... It's steeped in magic. The floor here, the space, the room about us. Abjuration magic. There is a ward here. It is complex. It took us some time to even find it. There's some sort of dampening spell cast over it to hide it from scrying eyes. But it is here, I'm certain. He looks at the dried blood on the floor, what's left of it. How he came to this, though, I do not understand. I'll have to look at his notes further to see what drove him to this. Perhaps it was the same thing that drove him mad, that put this idea in his head. I'm not certain. I am concerned that the key to opening what lies beneath this place is a sacrifice. Tell me again, you observed him attempting a ritual with his own
Yes.
blood, yes?
Yes.
Only him. He did not have accompaniment at all?
There was no one with him. Unless he intended to kill us and use our blood.
Yes, but your arrival seemed to surprise him, correct?
Yes.
So I can only surmise that he intended to complete the ritual alone. Which means either he intended to survive it and enter, or what lies beneath intended for him to die and release it.
I hadn't thought of that. This is why we needed the wizards.
Pierre, please do me a favor, and I'll have him cast Detect Magic.
Mm-hmm.
Do I still see traces of this magic that he was talking about?
There is a spell that I have to find. I think it's Abjuration magic. I think it's bear with me for a second. I need to read the... I don't want to give this away by saying it out loud, but I need to read the wording on it to see...
Yeah, and feel free to be as vague as you like. You know, I know they say the School of Magic or whatever, but I don't know.
Well,
what those are.
that's kind of what I'm looking for. There is a spell that allows you to hide a magical essence, right? To basically hide something from detect magic. But Paramon basically just said that out loud, right? That the magic in this place seemed to be dampened or hidden from us at first. I'm just trying to find the goddamn name of the spell. Does that sound familiar to you? Do you recall?
I'm not sure.
It's not a high level spell. It's 3rd or below.
What spell? Sorry, my internet cut out.
I don't know. I'm looking for it.
Non-detection, is that it?
It's... I think non-detection only... It works on a person and it guards against scrying, right? Yeah, divination magic. No, the one I'm thinking of is cast
magic
on...
aura?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
For now, it is whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I guess I can just make it up, right? Like, I like to play within the bounds of what's in the available spells and not just be like, yeah, it's Nystel's magic aura. You place an illusion on a creature or an object you touch, that divination spells reveal false information about it. Yeah, if you cast the spell on the same creature or object every day for 30 days, placing the same effect on each time, it lasts until it's dispelled. False aura. You change the way the target appears to spells and magical effects such as detect magic. You can make a non-magical object appear magical or vice versa. Yeah. So basically there was a spell, he surmises there was a spell cast on the entrance to the crypts beneath, or the whatever dungeon beneath, that hid the magical entrance. And so when you cast detect magic, you get something. Perhaps the spell has faded enough where something bleeds through. But it's not entirely clear. There is a sense of an illusion spell, but there is also the sense of like a ward, possibly abjuration magic lying beneath it, very, very faintly. And then, Louis, you hear a voice in your head. Who are you? A fresh mind has entered my home. Hello. And that's where we're going to end tonight.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Louis, don't fight.
This is like one of those like theme park rides where it's like you must be this smart to get on this ride.
Looks like I made a new friend.
I don't want a friend. This is not an ami.
Je sais pas.
They killed the Nothic before you joined the party, I think, and that means the party killed the Nothic before Louis joined the party. But it's you know, I would imagine they would have told you that the Nothic had spoken of something talking to it in its time living here.
Well,
It also seemed like Paramount knew the Nothic.
Yeah, he did, and you know, if you'd ask him about it, like he would probably feel pretty dumb about just ignoring it. He's come across them before, and you know, the creature stayed well away from them, you know, fearing their power. But you know, he would admit that he probably didn't pay it enough attention, and it might have actually, for his, you know, for an insane aberration that inhabited a dark corner of this place, there was perhaps you know, a fragment of knowledge that it held that if he'd spent more time with it, he would have gleaned from it. But he, you know, he found it a perverse aberration and just stayed the hell away from it. And so there you go. Crazy voice in your head. Good times.
Good times. Too psycho for me.
Parfait.
Well, if we manage to
You'll
get
get one
into,
Hummer.
if we manage to get into whatever is underneath, we're gonna need Noro and Rogar.
Yeah, if you manage to survive long enough.
Yeah,
I
you're
mean-
gonna have to go up against a buff wizard.
Mhm.
I mean, it's Louis.
Ah, feel me.
No, I'm not. Like, I'm not a dick. I only mind control barbarians and NPCs.
Yeah, who almost get the rest of your party killed. Anytime Ice's character came close to being mind controlled, I would leave that area of wherever he was, because if he got within 70 feet of me, he could kill me.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
in like 2 swings.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Ori could kill just about anything in 2 swings.
Yes. Like our good friend Maloreth, I almost cleaved him in half.
Yep,
I
he
would-
did not like that.
I mean, I didn't heal him. The other guy did.
Yeah, begrudgingly he healed him.
you heal everyone else, so. Or you try to.
No, not
I said
necessarily.
you tried to heal the Nothic.
Yeah. Well, sometimes she doesn't always make the best decisions.
Hummer rubbed some more soap in its eye.
I did.
Yeah, Rogar was originally going to say that there was a smaller dragon in Thunder Tree. Like he wanted to play up that the white dragon was, big.
Mm-hmm.
And that they should go for easier prey in Thunder Tree?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that just means that she'll mind control them, and then we have to fight them when we go, or whatever.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think they're interesting enough for her to do anything with. She'd probably just scare the
Another
living...
drunk dwarf.
Yeah, scare the living shit out of him and send him on their way.
I'd like to imagine as well that, like, as Rogar was, helping the dwarf drink, Toblin didn't know what the fuck was going on until the dwarf decided to go to bed.
And that stack of coins just kept getting bigger.
Yeah. Until Rogar finally tells him what the dwarf wasn't there. Get more of these mugs. They're great.
I had him make an intelligence check, which he failed miserably because my dice suck. Which is good for you guys, so that means we have fun. But yeah, no, he has no idea. Like he basically thought that that meeting you guys and finding out there's possible competition and like the conversation didn't go quite as well as he thought it would, and he just thinks he's too pissy to get drunk. But, it's like the last fucking straw. I can't even get drunk tonight. Nothing's going right.
Damn it.
Dragon's bigger than I thought it was going to be. Other people want a piece of it.
Thanks, Poker.
Thank you guys.
It was fun.
Sleepy Hummer.
Yeah, ending the stream right now.